Good morning. Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments of the live feed. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During the live session, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I'll reveal the result at the end. So my name is Anne-Marrie Martin and I'm the founder and franchisor of Diddi Dance. So I run a toddler dance company and I decided to franchise it. Now, my background is that I trained as a professional dancer. I danced from a very early age and I always knew that I wanted to do something involved with moving to music. I found that I was quite good at it, and then I decided to go on and do a degree in contemporary dance. When I graduated, I then performed all over the world and was really fortunate to work with some amazing people. Then, through all of the performing, I found that I really loved teaching, that reward of giving back. So I'm very fortunate that I found my passion very early on in life, and I managed to make a career out of it. So through all the teaching, I then decided to work with under fives at a play centre. Now, through that, a lot of the adults there asked me, knowing my background, if I would start a preschool dance class. Now, this was back in 2003. So again, it was a very organic growth. They booked me a venue and told me to turn up. And I tried to figure out what it was with the under fives that I could really give value to about moving to music. It's about a first introduction to a dance class being a really fun, really engaging one. Anything, as we know as adults, that first impression really counts. So it's exactly the same for a dance class. I didn't want to make it too formal. The feedback I was getting from parents that a lot of the dance schools were starting off quite formal. And so I thought, what could I do to make it an introduction so these children were inspired and more likely to then carry on dancing when they get older? So we just focus on the under fives. And then when they get to school age, that's when, if they're still loving it, they might then go on and join a dance school in their curricular time. So as the classes grew and became popular, I looked at expansion and I'd heard the word franchising and I thought, could this work for my style of business? Now, I think whenever you're looking to grow or expand your business, you need to explore different models and find out what would be the right route for you. So for me, I needed to establish if it was just the area I was in. The area I started the classes was very affluent, and it also had lots of young children in that condensed area in London. So I decided to branch out into a few different areas. So this was in North London, and I decided to go around East London and South East London, which was where I was living, to really explore the different areas and see if the classes would work there. They all became popular, and I then thought, okay, what I need to do now to figure out if this is scalable is take myself out of the equation. I think when you're delivering a service-based business, you need to know if that business can work without you giving it your heart and soul. So I took on some teachers and I decided to train them up and see if the concept I'd created would actually work without me delivering the sessions myself. So I took on a few teachers and it did. It proved to be popular. The concept, the plan that I had developed, the elements I was using, the props we were using, again, back in 2003, when there weren't many preschool sessions out there, it all seemed to click and it seemed to work. So after a couple of years of testing it and testing the areas and testing the teachers, I decided to look into franchising more. Now, there are ways that you can grow and scale. Especially if you're a service-based business, it might be collaborating with a service provider that can deliver that service across the country. It might be a licensed option where people would come and train with you, have that certification, and then they can go and deliver that where they want and be able to adapt it slightly. And then franchising. So I decided to go down the franchising route. I had a passion that I wanted a diddi dance class to be exactly the same wherever you were going, to really be able to build a brand that people would recognise, people would be familiar with. And especially, I think, when you're working with young children, a brand that people can trust and know the consistency they're going to get across the UK or maybe even worldwide. So I decided to franchise, and coming from a dance background, I decided I needed to bring the experts in. So I went to a franchise consultant, and that is how I decided to grow the business. And through that expert help, they led me on all of the business knowledge and franchising knowledge that I needed to create that business in a box that other people would buy into and be able to run successfully in their own unique territory. And that's a big thing about franchising as well. You do get an exclusive territory where nobody else from diddi dance can come into and run it. So being part of a franchise network, going through the last year that we've gone through, I cannot be more thankful of leading and being part of a franchise network. It was about leading the network, but also because it wasn't a employer-employee relationship, although there was a lot of pressure to fall on me as a franchisor to make sure I learnt the guidance, how we could reopen safely, and they all still looked to me for a lot of answers. Because they are business owners, it was very much a two-way street. And I think that's the thing that I would say about leading a network. When you are leading a team, as an employer even, it's about a two-way street. You don't have to know all the answers. And I think the moment that you can stop and accept that, you can be an even better leader. You can lead by example, but you can listen as well. Listen and appreciate the others in your network. Really value their opinions. But also when you're leading something like a team through a pandemic, like we would ever have known that this was going to happen, it's about also being creative. Finding how you can pivot a business. I know we will use that word a lot. We managed to go online successfully, but also about looking and exploring the opportunities there. We made sure that we brought in experts on mindset, listening to the network, and really being able to help them understand with their mindset what they can control and what actually they can't control and they need to be able to work through. But those opportunities and being creative can lead you to really exciting things. So, for example, I decided, because I teach a lot of the classes still myself, and because with my background, I am used to being on camera and delivering those dance sessions with confidence, I decided to explore a brand new platform. So we decided, I think it was June last year, to take the business onto TikTok. And I know lots of businesses think, oh, no, not TikTok. But it has proven to be one of the most successful platforms for us as a business. Now, I would agree that the skeptical side would be it's a children's app, but the pandemic actually grew it into a real worldwide phenomenon. So a lot of our target market, parents, were now on this app. And I wanted to make sure, with the extra time that I had, that I could try and capitalise on that. So I grew on this platform, delivering content of entertainment, of fun and comedy, and really being able to showcase through video what we did at diddi dance and how funny it can be and how energetic it can be. And we managed to grow that platform. We're at just over 45,000 followers now on that platform. So I think the top tips I would give when you're leading any team through any time of growth would be those things. Listen to your network, value their opinions, but try and lead by example. Show them that what you're suggesting, you are trying yourself. Get creative, seek those opportunities for growth or redirection, such as the new platform, to try and reach a new audience so that you can try and reach more people for when you can get back and grow those things. So that's how I've grown the business, and that's how I have tried to lead by example for it. And I would welcome any questions to come through now if you've got anything on franchising or on the leadership there. So if we move on to those questions now, we're going to take a question from Laura from Instagram. Thank you very much for engaging this morning. What are your top tips onto business owners who are struggling to connect with their employees during this pandemic? I think it's hard. So it depends on what the business is and how your structure is. So I do also own another business where we have employees. I don't just run a franchise network. And it depends. That it is a soft play centre that has had to close. And we had to put all the staff on furlough. So for that, it's a slightly different. But if I focus on the franchise network, it was about constant communication. It really is listening in. What are they feeling? What are they struggling with? What can you help with or add value to them? And I think just by showing that you're listening and really valuing their opinions, it can help keep them engaged. So just sometimes just a little group Zoom of a quiz. We did a diddi dance quiz of really fun but really engaging. We did a diddi dance. So usually every June we run a 2-day in-person conference to keep everyone engaged. But I didn't want to not do that. So we came onto Zoom again, and we didn't try to focus too much on the guest speakers and too much knowledge. It was more just about engagement, and we just did our internal awards like we would do every year. So I just felt that really kept them engaged. But I think bringing in somebody, I know companies that have brought in counsellors, we brought in a mindset coach, just to really listen to your employees or your network and really value their opinions to keep them engaged so that you know how to deliver your leadership to them. So I hope that helps. We now have Claude from Twitter. How has the pandemic and closure of schools affected the classes you conduct? Is there a change in behaviour of your students that you noticed during this period? Great question, Claude. Thank you so much for that. We work with under fives. So although a lot of the network work in nurseries and schools up to reception age, it's definitely been a learning curve. So going online, screen time for under fives is obviously a tricky one. However, we did have some really great positives from it. So delivering the class online meant that a lot of children at this age group didn't actually have the distraction of all the other children in the class. So, 2 and 3-year-olds are like, oh. So just focusing on the screen and using the screen for a positive activity, not just sitting watching something. They were actually focusing a lot more on the screen because they could really see myself or one of the franchisees or teachers delivering that session and engage with it a lot more. However, there is then the side that they would then be distracted by things at home. So it was a very different way to lead the class, but also a very different way you weren't actually getting that engagement back as well. So the behaviour of the toddlers was very different, and we had every child so different, and we appreciate that in our in-person classes. We just lead the classes anyway, and the children join in at their own pace. So it was the same going online, and you see some positives and you see some negatives. But it was working in the nurseries and the schools. They were trying to not only deliver on and offline sessions themselves, but then to try and juggle in logistics of bringing in extra online content. So we had varying levels of engagement, and some were great and we had even more engagement, and some were lower. So I think when something like this happens that you can't prepare for, you just have to take it and sort of roll with it. So I hope that sort of helps there, Claude. But great question, thank you. Okay, we've got another question from Sujin from Twitter DM. Thank you. Good morning. What would your advice be to aspiring entrepreneurs wanting to start their own business or buy a franchise? Great question. Love talking about franchising. What you've got to do is, if you have a business that you're wanting to grow, as I said earlier, you want to explore all the growth options, whether it's licensing, whether it's, I spoke to a lady who makes cakes, and I'd said franchising could be great, licensing might not work so well, but maybe the whole partnering with a delivery provider. So, for example, like Interflora, other flower delivery services are available. If you were to partner with someone like that, and then you would be the delivery processor, and then you team up with local cake makers, that might be an option for growth. So I think you need to explore options and figure out which one is right for you. And then you need to get an expert in. I would always advise speaking to a franchise consultant, but speaking to one who will be honest and transparent with you, who won't just after 5 minutes go, yes, I can definitely help you and I'll take your money and help you grow your business. You need someone really honest and really transparent who will say, look, I'm not completely 100% sure this is the right business route for you, but we can explore it a little bit here and look down to really give you that best advice. Now, not everybody has a light bulb moment to grow their own business. You might not have that original idea that you then want to start and you then want to maybe grow through franchising. And that's where buying into a franchise can be an amazing option for you. If you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, but not necessarily the idea, then look around, because franchising, and this is where there's a lot of misconception on it, it isn't about film franchises, and in every country the term franchise does have different. It's not about pyramid schemes and anything like that. It is genuinely, this is a business in a box that someone, we would award you, or someone would buy into the network, so you still have that control of it being your own business. But rather than starting a business and you need to find a marketing coach and a VA and a social media manager and marketing and accountancy and all of that, that's what buying into a franchise gives you. It gives you all these experts on hand to then be able to grow your business built on a brand that people trust, and all that continuous guidance and support whilst you grow your business. And franchises cover every style of business. There are lots of us in the Children's Activities Network, but there's lots in the Food and Beverage Network. There are plenty out there. So if you've got something that you're passionate about, but you're not quite sure to start it yourself, buying into a franchise can be a really great option to growth. So I hope there's some tips there that would help you on making those decisions, Sujin. Another question, brilliant. Oh, and do apologise if I get pronounced this wrong. Euphrasie from Facebook Messenger. Hi, Anne-Marrie, how do you decide when and how often to post on social media? Wow, great question. Now, I'm not an expert on social media, and I have lots in my head office team, and we all play to our strengths. And I think that is the thing when you run a business. Don't beat yourself up that you need to know everything. Bring the people in that have more experience, more knowledge, more skills than you, so that you can focus on what your skills are and let them focus on their skills. So I have a lady who does the social media for me at Diddi Dance, and she knows the best times. She knows how to look at the analytics and grow the business based on those. So not being a social media expert, but knowing a little bit, I would say what it is about looking at your posts that you've done, going into your analytics and seeing when your audience are online, seeing which posts have worked and which haven't. What I do know about is TikTok. Now, I post 3 times a day, and I know that sounds a lot, but for me, it's what I'd started because there were sort of 3 angles that I wanted to go with. So in a morning, I post, now stay with me guys because it sounds random, but this is TikTok for you. I do a toddler based lip sync in the morning, something funny that a small child will have said, that I spin it into a Diddi Dance way. And then at lunchtime, I tend to post one of the trending TikTok dances, because we deliver dance, so that engages another set of audience. And then in an evening, I will try and do more of an adult based one, so something about me teaching, something about parenting, that I think then reaches a different sort of audience. And that is just what I've set up. But I know lots of businesses on TikTok that just post once a day or even just 2 to 3 times a week. So I think through your analytics, if you look at which are most successful, what times of the day they are, what engagement you get, and then keep replicating that, you will find that that is the pattern that works for you and your business. And that will help you figure out how often you should post. I think every platform's different, and I think every business is different. But the key message is consistency. Whatever you do, make sure it's consistent. Don't post 3 times a day for 2 days and then not go on for a week, because you lose that momentum. So whatever you do, just keep it consistent. So I hope that helps. And I'm sure that there might be social media managers out there going, no, do this. But that's what we find works. Yash from Instagram DM, thank you for all your questions, guys. These are brilliant. What precautions have you thought about implementing when able to return to face-to-face classes? I do painting classes for both kids and adults and hope I can implement the right precautions to keep everyone safe. Brilliant, brilliant question. And we could do a whole nother day talking about this. There are some great associations and organisations out there, Yash, that can help you figure out the guidance, because it is slightly different to what activities you deliver. I made sure that I was involved in the Children's Activities Association on there. I volunteered for their working party to figure out the guidance. So as you may know from looking at the government guidance, there are lots of different areas that you have to bring together to figure out how you can do this. So I worked from performing arts guidance, early years settings guidance, and out of school activities guidance, and brought them together. I also made sure that this was all last summer, and luckily the guidance hasn't really changed for when we can reopen after Easter. So it's not been too much of a change, is I watched lots of webinars. We're members of One Dance UK, so I made sure I watched their webinars. Now that was mainly focused on vocational colleges and how they were going to look to return safely. And then I spoke to other franchisors, to speak to lots of children's activities providers and figure out the guidance together. What this year really has taught us is collaboration is key. We're all in this together. And I talk in clubhouse rooms, I deliver webinars with the Children's Activities Association, and I speak to lots of other franchisors to make sure that we're all doing this safely. So social distancing, and even with the under 5s, it's got to be in place. For us in dance, we have to be 3 metre distancing, but we've tried to make it fun. We have these little diddi dots, and the children try and dance on them as much as they can. The adults are in the room with them. So we're probably harder to run because it's so much physical movement. So there's the social distancing, there's the guidance on all the products to use to clean all of the props that we use. So no 2 people share any of the props. Everything that we use, excuse me, and we've had to adapt which props we can use and which we couldn't, because they weren't able to be cleaned properly. So each customer has their own set of props that are then gathered up at the end, put into a separate bag, ready to clean and sterilise thoroughly. Steam mop the floor before the next class come in. So there's extra time we leave in between classes. And face coverings, that came in as we'd reopened, and that is staying for this one as well. So there is quite a lot there, and there's lots of guidance out there. But Yash, I'd be more than happy to give you any more information if I can, if you want to contact me at the end. We're getting ready to wrap up, but we've got another couple more questions hopefully I can get through. So Zane from Facebook Messenger, were there any unexpected problems you had faced while closed, and how did you deal with them? Wow, great question. Unexpected problems. Well, maybe not, because I think when we went into this, we tried to predict every problem that could come out. So we always, excuse me, thought about the worst and then hoped for the best. Going on and delivering your sessions online, again, we had to figure out which platform would be right for us. And we decided the social media route in a private group setting that customers could book into was the right platform for us. But we were able to do that because we own all the copyright to our music. So I know a lot of businesses hadn't thought about that problem, and they tried to deliver on Facebook, but using commercial music that then there's just like an automation on there that cuts you off or mutes your session that you're delivering on live. And so I guess that would have been an unexpected problem. I think it was such an unknown that everything that was thrown out, we just had to take. But it was, again, just that listening and understanding. If a franchisee was like, I'm just not sure if this is right for me anymore, I can't cope with all of this on top of running the business. Whereas usually you'd be a bit like, what, we can do this. It was like, right, yeah, okay, let's listen, let's understand where they're coming from now, and let's really make sure that we work with you on this. And, you know, we did have a couple of people leave the network during that, but surprisingly, we've had new franchisees join the network as well. So it's a very up and down process, I guess. But I think if you can deal with it, I keep saying it, with honesty and transparency, and just that understanding, you don't have to have all the answers, but you can work through those things with your network, then you can always try and figure out a way to deal with them. I hope that helped, Zane. And our final question is from Johan. I hope I've said that right. From Twitter DM. I've been thinking about buying into franchising. What expectations can I have from the franchise owners in terms of guidance and help? Wow, brilliant question, because this is one that helps you decide which franchise is best for you. So there's a process you should go through when looking into franchising. Any franchise you should be able to do your due diligence on that franchise and look into it, do some background checks. But when you are looking into that, how honest and open is that franchisor being? What information are they giving you at the start? What does their prospectus say? What is their open day or discovery day like? And in that discovery day, they should detail what support, guidance and help they are going to give you, not just at the start, check what training it is, but then they should be telling you what you can expect from them as you go along, because that is the concept of franchising, that you get all of this expert advice in one place. So you really should get all of that together as you go along together in your partnership as a franchisee and franchisor. So I hope that helps. But again, please do message me if you want to delve into that a bit deeper, because there's lots of things that you should also look out for, any accreditations, any members of associations as well. So thank you for that question. Okay, so we have had the poll while I've been speaking and the results are in. So we asked you, have you ever sacrificed anything for your employees? Let's see the results. Drum roll. 40% of you said yes, and actually 60% of you said no. That is really interesting. And I think it's a very different relationship when you're franchisor to franchisee and when you're employer to employee. It's not always about sacrificing yourself, but I think during a pandemic, there's definitely a certain level of sacrifice, whether you're in the end wanting to protect your employees and putting them on furlough and you have to pick up a bit of extra work to keep everything going for the employees so they have jobs to come back to, or you have to get yourself involved like I did with volunteering in a working party to figure out the guidance. I had to sacrifice some extra time to do that for the network. So it's interesting. That poll is really interesting. So thank you so much for everybody who got in touch and voted on that. Okay, so thank you for joining me this morning. I hope you found some value there. If you want to get in contact with me, you can send an email to info@diddidance.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, Original Diddi Dancer. I'd be happy to answer any extra questions that you have, so please do get in touch. So coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Victoria Shepherd, who is the co-founder and managing director of specialty coffee shop and brunch spot Queens of Mayfair. So tune in to hear about what it was like launching a business in a pandemic and get advice on how to get your business mentioned in top magazines and newspapers. And a reminder, if you need any more advice, do join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. I hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.